Welcome back to part 2. So we left off on the facets of comprehension and we were discussing how Wisconsin made a 4-point rubric based on some of these areas. So we have prior knowledge, literal comprehension, interpretive comprehension, critical thinking, story parts, word meaning, organizing information, visualization, analyzing questions, generating questions, summarizing, applies reading strategies, and recognizes and remedies breakdowns. Okay, so this is just a summary. All right, so the teacher's responsibility, they needed to find ways to make thinking and the strategies visible. So how do we do that? How do we do make something visible that's in their head? So here are some different ways. You can use sticky notes. So the teachers in Wisconsin, they used a sticky note, so the student had to write down something that he or she was thinking as they were reading. You can do think aloud, so that is also making it visible. Journal responses, daily written assignments, graphic organizers. So then examine responses to identify comprehension needs and set goals for further instruction. And this is also a good thing too, to see which strategies they're most comfortable with, and maybe they heavily rely on one strategy and need to use other ones to help comprehend the text. Okay, so our next article is they can read the words, but they can't understand, by DeWitts and DeWitts. And here we are introduced to Mark, who reads with accuracy, fluency, and expression. He reads 98% accuracy, 132 words per minute on average. However, his performance on comprehension question was poor on 6th grade, on 4th grade, for silent reading, for oral reading, and for familiar texts. All right, so let's find out what's going on with Mark. So one of the things they're introducing to you in this article is analyzing comprehension miscues, so to say. So they're not the miscues that Mark is making while reading, they're analyzing the comprehension questions. So you are introduced to a term, relational inferences, which is failure to link ideas across a passage. Failure to make causal inferences, so noting like the antecedent and not understanding cause and effect in the story. Failure to understand syntax, excessive elaboration, or over-reliance on prior knowledge. And that's actually something that I see quite often, where a student may not understand the text, but they really use their prior knowledge to answer the question. But obviously you can see that they use their prior knowledge because there is no basis for evidence in the text. And failure to know a key vocabulary word, or no response. So these were the things that they were looking at for Mark as they looked at his answers to the comprehension questions. Okay, so Mark's miscues. Only answered 6 out of 25 inference questions correctly. So obviously that is an area of need. Picks up information from one part of the text, but fails to integrate it with other parts of the text. So relational inference. Difficulty inferring the antecedent of the action or determining the consequence. Mark's most common response was to insert or invent knowledge not in the passage. So he just had excessive elaboration where he actually kind of made up stuff. Few cases where Mark didn't know the meaning of keywords in the passage or the question itself. He also had difficulty with reasoning skills. Okay, so there's a figure in the article, which is really great to look at and really great to use. You can use this to analyze your comprehension questions and maybe even use it in your WAPR. If not this time, maybe in the future. All right, so what are some interventions for Mark? Well, we can teach him question-answer relationships. So he needs to understand the type of question being asked and what type of thinking would be involved with answering that question. Direct explanation and modeling of inference process. So this would just be direct modeling and then practice using it. So you can use a closed passage to teach that. And teach student how to code text as he reads. So for example, he might put MI equals main idea or connection, or maybe a question mark if he has a question on an area where he doesn't understand. So just teaching him how to code and use strategies as he reads. All right, so that is all for this session. We determined appropriate measures to assess comprehension, this will help you report and analyze results from comprehension assessments such as your QRI, and some next steps for comprehension instruction. So you can really use the suggestions in the article to help make suggestions for your student.